Hey everybody, this is Micah Lieberman once again doing a Voices of Scope video. Always the best part of my day. Get to talk with people doing really interesting work in clinical research, often people who I've known for a long time, sometimes completely new people. Today, a little of both. So, April Lewis, who's either down, left, right, depending on how your screen is, has been a part of Scope probably from the beginning. And she's been on my panels, been on my advisory groups, but she's done everything. Most of you know April. She's currently doing something new and interesting as well with the other person who doesn't have long hair, who is George Cram. And he's the CEO and co founder. And Patient Partner is a company some of you know from Scope, some of you may not know. And I wrote down something. We were talking about patient engagement and patient insights, but I want to get to something deeper. So everybody, George Cram, April Lewis, welcome you guys. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, thank you
Thanks,
very much.
Micah. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, okay. So I'm going to dive right in. George and April, looking at what you guys do, people could check out your site, they could see at Scope. And I want to say that you two actually met at Scope. That's really cool. Is you mentioned mentorship. That is, you know, that's much more than a buzzword. I think our audience, who comes from a lot of vertically integrated, like kind of large companies, like corporations, they have a technical understanding of what mentorship is.
Mhm.
That's one understanding. And also, I hear it also in kind of advocacy and help organizations, support groups. That's also, tell me why that word appears like in your mission statement and what you do. Talk a little bit about what you do, and then let's go towards mentorship because I think it's unique and I think it's interesting, George.
Yeah. I mean, the concept of mentorship, I think, from a whole, like, has been a widely known and done thing for decades, right? You look at mentorship, you look at it like from a professional standpoint, and it's truly just like a human nature aspect. Like, you want to learn from somebody who's been through it before, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're taking that idea, that ideology, and implementing it into the healthcare system, right? So many times when you get diagnosed with something or you get a new disease or whatever it is, like, there's like a natural desire to want to like connect with somebody who like has gone through it before, right? And we see it today, like all over the place, right? People try to find like a neighbor or a relative, or they go
Right.
online, they try to search for others. And, what we're trying to do here is like really kind of encapsulate that and allow it to basically be used from the sponsor level. But the idea of mentorship really started with my wife and my personal experience that I went through a couple of years ago. Obviously the mentorship side of things is a big thing of what we do, but it started because my wife got a cancer diagnosis several years ago. And as she went through that process, I remember her feeling, scared, nervous, unsure. And through like an experience I went through at work, like I saw a patient ask, "Hey, is there another patient I could talk to?"
Mm-hmm.
And it was so funny. I was sitting in this room and it was like a light bulb moment. I'm like, wow, that makes so much sense. It's such like a simple concept. And reached out to the oncologist, was like, "Hey, is there any chance you have another patient that's also a mom that went through the same treatment and journey that my wife's about to go through? And is there a way to connect the two of them together?" And I really got to see like firsthand the impact that can bring to not only my wife, but like my family. Right.
Yeah.
And it was so funny. We were like sitting in our living room, like as this whole thing was unfolding. We're like, why isn't this normalized? Like, why had it go to the extent of me having to call the doctor and like set this whole thing up? And like, this should just be a thing that is commonly done throughout the healthcare system. And so, we then, took that experience and really kind of like it lit a fire under me to like start this company. It's really like the passion and the mission behind everything we do here is really rooted in how do we humanize like the healthcare experience when it comes to patients going through something challenging.
Yeah. That's an incredible story. Thank you for sharing that. And I hope your wife's doing okay.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I always say
um,
that. Wife's doing great, by the way.
yeah, no, that's okay. Um, Sometimes it feels obvious when you're in it, right? Yeah, and okay, so let's go deeper now. Let's go into like kind of pharma, like April, especially like April, you've had a lot of jobs at big pharma, CROs, tech. And so I think you've been very close to like leveraging data and patient insights from a technical level. I don't know if that's the
Yeah.
right term, but you know what I'm
Oh, it
getting
makes
at.
sense. I do.
Okay. Versus kind of that lived experience that a patient has, which creates the data. And then right before we got going, we're like, okay, something interesting to talk about is, so if I look at the data and the insights that are kind of being ingested and analyzed versus the real lived experience, there's a lot of stuff that happens offline, quote unquote. So do are sponsors aware of that? Do they understand there is a lot to learn there? Is there more to do there? What does that mean? Is there
Yeah.
something we're missing?
Yeah. And I think this bridges that gap. I
Okay.
really do. So this is what drew me to I'm a huge geek for patient insights, patient data. I've been playing in that space for a while.
Yeah.
Some of that is still left to interpretation. It's like when you send somebody a text and they're like, why is so and so angry? But they're not angry. It's just the text, right? You're
Mm-hmm.
interpreting it that way. So there's something to be said. Data is wonderful. I would never say that we don't need data. Of course, we need more of it. We need better data, right? But there is this next step in the evolution of how we think about what patients need, what they want, how we understand them, how we observe them. And I think we haven't solved for that yet. And I truly believe, which is why I'm here supporting George and supporting the mission, is that this concept of mentors makes sense. Even
Mm-hmm.
as just a human being, I get
Yes.
a diagnosis, I call a girlfriend,
Yes.
right? Have you ever
Everything.
experienced this
You call
before?
somebody
You
you
just
trust,
describe your
somebody you
girlfriend.
know.
Oh, what do I do? Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's human nature. And there's something very soothing about talking to somebody that you have that trust with
Yep.
to be able to answer those questions. So yeah, I do think this is the next evolution of what data has been able to provide us. But I also think what's really interesting, and we were just talking about this, is when you think about this in the context of a clinical trial, there are visits that may have weeks in between them.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no understanding of what that lived experience is for the
Yes.
patients in that in between phase, right?
Okay.
So if they're engaging with a mentor during those in between stages, the amount of rich insights you can get around what are they talking about? What is that patient going through? Like where are they starting to feel demotivated? All of that
Yeah.
comes out in that engagement in
It's
a
like a
way that
person.
nobody would ever.
Yeah. I have to interrupt you because this is so relevant to everyday life, personal training, physical training, exercise, pitching,
Yeah.
coaching, all of this stuff, right? Again, back to your epiphany, George, right?
Yeah.
It's, yeah. Um, is, is this something, tell me more about the mentorship. I know we're running out of time, but I want to ask one more question is because these are short. I know. We'll see you both at Scope. Talk to George, talk to April at Scope. There's a lot of people that are passionate about this. Give me a little bit of the nuts and bolts. How do you connect the right person with the right person?
Yeah. This is something that we're really big on. It's more than just saying, George has this disease state, Mike has this disease state, let's connect them. And what
Right.
we really try to understand is like we're trying to find relatability. And
Okay.
relatability is even outside of healthcare. Right. So when somebody goes in and wants to get matched to their mentor, we have like three different pillars that we match them on. One is healthcare. The second is personal demographic understanding, like sex, age, ethnicity, cultural, hobbies, activity level, like understanding like who is this person outside of their disease state? What are the things that they enjoy? What makes them unique? And then the last pillar, and this tends to be pretty important, is we also match them from a psychological standpoint.
Okay.
So what are their concerns? What are their fears? What are they trying
Yeah.
to get back into their life?
All right.
All of
And
that
I'm
goes.
saying all right. I'm saying all right because we're out of time. But
Ah,
but
the
you
fucker.
answered it. And also, I wanted to make sure I showed you my surprise because look at this. Look what I have for you, George. Because I've never met you,
Uh,
but I'm putting it over my headset. So yeah, both of my kids are ducks. Well, they're actually humans, but they're UO kids. I just wanted to show you that. George, I cut you guys off, but I wanted to ask that last little question before we ran out of time. And you got it. So thanks, George. Thanks, April. I'll get this posted. I'll see you next month. Good work. I like what you guys are doing.
Thanks, Mike. I really
Thanks,
appreciate it.
Micah.